Hey there, it's Mike. Thanks for checking out this video, and I am enjoying a nice hot vanilla chai in my Ember 2 rechargeable mug, which I will be talking about at the end of this video. And the reason I'm drinking this nice hot vanilla chai is that we're going to talk about winter street photography. So I'm going to put this down here, and that's going to stay warm, at least for the next half an hour. And if you're in a place where you can do street photography in winter, consider yourself very blessed. There are a lot of places that are not going to get below 40 degrees, or they're rarely going to see snow. And as opposed to thinking, here's this horrible weather, I got to deal with winter, I got to deal with snow, use it to your advantage. What kind of great images can I make? And so I see winter as a definite opportunity to do great stuff. And when we take a look at some of my stuff throughout this video, some of the best stuff I have ever shot has been winter street photography images. So let's start out and talk about dress, what to wear. Some of the stuff is going to be fairly obvious, but I have a couple suggestions here. And most people, they start from the top down, and of course I do the opposite. I start from the bottom up. So I mean, shoes wise, I am low top kind of hiking boots. I don't want actual winter boots, but you might be walking in some some sidewalks that are in shovel or in streets or whatever, so you got to have something. Socks, I recommend and love these. My feet get cold, I use battery operated socks. I've had a couple different kinds. The first kind I had used 4 AA batteries in each little pocket in each sock. So that's 8 batteries, and unless you're using rechargeables, you're gonna be going through a lot of money, and it was just too heavy and things like that. And then I found these guys, and I'll have a link to these down below in the description, which are fantastic. They use these little white rechargeable little battery packs that are quite light. They have 3 settings, low, medium, and high, and I rarely have to go off of low. Usually medium if it's really, really cold out, I'm like sitting at a football game or something, but most of the time if I'm walking around, low does the trick. And I love these because I never have to worry about my feet. I turn these on, I go out and shoot for an hour or whatever, and my feet never get cold. They're fantastic. So recommend battery operated socks. Pants, I'm usually just wearing jeans. I'm wearing something underneath those, like flannel pajamas or long underwear, something like that. I don't want my legs to be cold. Up top, I'm usually layering a t-shirt, hooded sweatshirt, and some sort of jacket. Obviously something with wind protection would be great if it's windy out, but I try to layer there. As far as hands go, this is where it gets a little bit tricky. I'm usually layering there as well, and what I use are these little kind of knit running gloves, and I'll put those on both hands, and then I'll have these bigger kind of ski gloves over that, especially on my left hand. My right hand is the shooting hand, so I can't really wear these really thick gloves. So I'll either wear this or something a little bit thicker, and then I'll combine it with these, of course. Hot Hands hand warmers. These are fantastic. I buy actually a box of these in November or December when it's starting to get cold out, because I use them for real estate gigs when I'm out shooting for the day. And I love these. They're inexpensive. I always carry a couple packs in my coat pocket, and then sometimes I only need one, sometimes I need both, just depends on how cold it is. And then of course, got to keep the noggin warm, so I'll have a winter hat on there. Sometimes I'll wear a scarf, but it doesn't happen a lot. It just depends, but that doesn't happen very often. But definitely want to be dressed warm. I have the mentality, when I get out of my truck and I'm going to go shoot on the streets, I want to get out of my truck, and the first thing I want to think is, oh no, I overdressed, because I know I'm going to get cold in 20 minutes, 40 minutes, whatever. And it's kind of the opposite. I've been a runner most of my life. I ran cross country and track in high school and college. Now I just jog recreationally 2-3 times a week, and the mentality there was always, I want to get out and be a little bit cold because I'm going to warm up as I'm running. Here I have the opposite kind of thought process. I want to get out and be like, boy, I'm too warm. I should take some of the stuff off, because eventually I'm going to get cold, I'm going to need it. So definitely dress warm, layer if possible, be ready to get wet if it's actively snowing, things like that. So that's dress. Camera-wise, equipment-wise, what do I do that's different? Not a ton, except for that I do bring an extra battery or two, knowing that it's colder and the batteries aren't going to last as long. And number 2, I will bring usually 2 to 3 lens cloths in case I'm outside, I go inside, I may get condensation on the lens or on the back of the LCD panel, things like that, and I want to wipe that off. So that's really about all I do equipment-wise when I'm going to go out in winter. So let's talk about actual images now and ideas that I have, tips that you can look for when you're out on the streets, things like that. I think the first issue is there's not going to be as many people around. So you have to prepare yourself to tell stories without people in them. And my number one tip is to go out when it's actively snowing. My best stuff has come when it's actively snowing. My best street image, winter street image, but if I look at art show sales, it's my best street image, was taken when it was actively like snowing, sleeting, through a window up above, looking down on College Ave, our main street here in Appleton. I've got a couple other images. A guy walking through across this bridge, through these trees, actively snowing, snow everywhere. You know, it's just when it's actively snowing, just opens up the possibility to telling some really neat stories. If it's just winter and there's just snow out and it's not snowing, I'm not nearly as motivated. But when I see snow in the forecast, can I get downtown? So go down when it's actively snowing. Another benefit of going when it's actively snowing is the opportunity to layer and to get snow on windows and things like that and shoot through those. Again, that's a big thumbs up to Saul Leiter again. You've heard his name here before. You're going to hear plenty of times moving forward. He was the master at shooting through rainy windows, snowy windows, things like that. And I love doing that too. So actively snowing opens up some possibilities, some very good possibilities. Another thing you could do, you know, if the snow is wet, and you find yourself kind of getting bogged down when it's wet, find cover and set up a shot and sort of, you know, go fishing. You can be in a parking ramp, you can be inside a store through a window, you could be, maybe you have some shops downtown that have canopies that you can stand under, things like that, where you just, instead of moving, you just stand in one spot and look for interesting things. And so that's an opportunity there to do some neat stuff. If it isn't actively snowing, if it's sunny out, let's say, that's a time, because the sun doesn't get high enough, you're going to get some shadows in there, do some self-portraits with with your shadow in there, get some reflections and windows, things like that. And of course, I've mentioned this before, challenge yourself to look for non-people stuff. Look for snow that is built up on things. You know, if it's been 2 or 3 hours, look for snow that is built up on benches, on chairs, and on sidewalks. I have a couple images I recently did where, you know, a couple inches, 2-3 inches of snow built up on benches and on tables, and when there's nobody sitting on there, that's part of the story. Then you got active snow going on in there as well. Those can be very good images. So look for snow that's built up on things. Look for footprints. I love footprints. Some of my favorite images are ones that I have repeated footprints in them. In fact, the video I just did about the street photography contest that I was a finalist in, the image that was a finalist was a winter street photography image called Footprints, where I just had this solitary figure walking down the sidewalk, shot from up above with just footprints all over. Love that shot. And that has a human element in it without a human in it. So, you know, look for footprints, look for gloves on the ground that have been discarded, or scarves, or things like that. Things that, you know, have that human element, but maybe there's no people around. And sometimes you have to think outside the box and do that kind of stuff when there's not as many people walking around, you know. And if you're a person that, you know, you've been either doing street photography for a little bit, or you're out one day and there's just really no people around, you want some people, head to areas where you know people are going to have to be out anyway. You know, if you're lucky enough to have like a bus depot or something like that, we have one here in Appleton, a block away from our main street. I can go down there. I've done some neat things there with umbrellas. I know in the past I've done a couple neat things when it was snowing just recently down there, because I knew there were going to be some people down there, and there's activity and there's buses going by and things like that. So if you're by a college campus, students walk to their classes. That's an opportunity, you know, if you're looking for people in your winter stuff. So winter stuff is great. I have a lot of great images. I've shown you a few. You gotta think outside the box. They're almost like, they can be landscape-ish in a way if you're trying to tell an overall big story and then maybe put a human element in there. Or again, it can be more of a detail shot of just a single solitary glove or a footprint or whatever. So bad weather can make for good photos. I've said it here before. I will say it again. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying it's not, it's difficult, especially when you're wearing glasses and you're trying to see through the back of the camera or things are fogging up. I'm not saying it's easy, it's challenging, but the reward can be some really great images. And I think the last piece of advice I'll give you is that if you're out shooting for half an hour, it's really cold out or whatever, stop by a local coffee shop. Just stop in and recharge, get some coffee, look through your images, warm up, and then head back out. And I'll recommend this guy, okay? This Ember 2 heated coffee mug is fantastic. I'll leave a link for it down below. One of the best things I ever bought. If I go out shooting when it's rainy or it's cold or it's snowy and I don't stop at a coffee shop, or even if I do, sometimes I'll bring it with me. And I'll have a nice heated vanilla chai or some tea and just relax, and you'd be surprised. I have done that before. I've gone shooting for a half an hour, went to the coffee shop, warmed up, went back out. Boy, that can really make a difference. So here's to winter street photography. If you haven't done it before, wait till it's snowing, head downtown, think outside the box. There are some great images to be had on the streets in winter. So hope that helps you out. Leave me some comments below. What do you like about shooting in winter? What are the challenges that you have? Check out my links below. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Otherwise, we will see you on the streets taking photos. Have a great day. Bye-bye.